What's good? What it do? Bedtime crew? Nah, I'm playing. Go subscribe to Bedtime MMA though. Welcome back to the channel. What's good, y'all? Fuck, I'm mixing up all my intros and outros and whatnot. Today we're gonna be talking about the MMA nerds, or I'm sorry, the fighting nerds. The gym located in Sao Paulo, Brazil. These guys are on a tear this year. They're 12-0 in the UFC right now with 4 fighters only, filling in that 12-0 record. And they're just, honestly, like their fight style, the way that these guys take short notice bouts, the way that these guys are always going for finishes, has really shot them up the mainstream for MMA fans. So let's talk about them today. Head coach Flavio Alvaro and Pablo Susupera. Sorry if I butchered that. Obviously, don't know too much about the coaches. I just have to put them in there because they do run the team. There's a whole lot of fighters on this team. Honestly, I might do a deep dive into the whole team later this week, just because there's probably some hidden gems. I wouldn't be surprised. But today we're going to be talking about specifically Caio Borralho, Gene Silva, Carlos Prates, and Mauricio Ruffy. These are the 4 guys that are in the UFC right now. These 4 guys combined are undefeated in the UFC, and they've been looking crazy. So obviously, first off, let's start out with Caio Borralho because he got into the UFC first. He's fought already a cool, I think at least 5 or 6 times at middleweight. This guy's looked great. He's holding a professional record of 16 wins, one loss currently. He came in on the Contender Series, won a fight by unanimous decision, didn't get a contract, won another fight, this time by first round finish with ground and pound strikes. Then he finally gets his UFC debut against Gadzi Omar Gadziev, wins that fight, moves on, fights Petrosian, Makhmud Muradov, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, Abus Magomedov, Paul Craig. So he's steadily climbed. And I feel like the UFC, with this guy in particular, has done the best job they've done in a while for slowly building up a prospect, giving him good matchups that are still tests, but they're honestly not horrible style matchups. They do some fighters horribly wrong, which we can get into later in the video. But Caio Borralho, he has looked solid. And if we count all of his fights up, not counting Contender Series bouts, yeah, it would be 6-0 in the UFC this far. And his last fight was on UFC 301 this year, where he got a win over Paul Craig. And that was a good win. That was his best win in the UFC so far. A 2nd round knockout. Should have been a first, but you know what? He gets the job done by finish. And now, I don't remember who he's looking to be fighting next, but I will put it up on the screen if he does have a fight in the works. I don't see anything on Tapology saying that he's got something coming up. So they'll probably give him some type of cool matchup in the top 10. This guy, with his style, and with middleweight being what it is, which is so top heavy, honestly, mid as fuck at the bottom. And even at the top 15, to 10 rankings, that shit has been horrible up until probably this year for middleweight specifically. But knowing how wide open this division is, and we have a guy who's 16-1 on a 15-fight win streak, confident as ever with one of the best teams. Yeah, no, this guy might be a threat. I definitely can see him breaking into the top 5. I think he's gonna have problems when it comes to the likes of Whitaker. I could even see Paulo Costa being a hard stylistic matchup for this guy. Certain fights are gonna be tough, but if he keeps climbing the ladder correctly, I think we see this guy fight for a title probably by 2025. I think he's gonna be one of these guys that fights for it but doesn't win it, and then maybe his career keeps going and he ends up winning one down the line or finding himself back in the title mix. But I really do think we're going to see this guy in the title mix within the next year and a half. So look out for Caio Borralho. Now we're going to move on to the next fighter. Personally, my favorite fighter of the bunch. It was Mauricio Ruffy, but now Gene Silva, after yesterday's performance, slightly edges him out. Gene Silva with a 14-2 record. I believe he's on now an 11-fight win streak. He's carrying something crazy. His last loss was all the way back in 2018. And both of his losses were by decision. This guy is an absolute menace. Easily already one of the best strikers in the UFC. And the way he looks for finishes is like no other. The shit he was throwing on Drew Dober yesterday had me jumping up and down and just freaking out. And it's honestly, these are my favorite type of prospects because this guy's only had 3 fights in the UFC. I picked him against Weston Wilson because I thought Weston was just a punching bag. And he proved me right in that fight. But honestly, I think that's just because Gene Silva is next level now, looking back on hindsight, because Weston Wilson got a win that didn't look so bad recently. Then he beats Charles Jourdain by knockout, which caught me off guard. I picked Charles Jourdain. I thought that Charles Jourdain just was too experienced, and we had too many variables of just X factors, things we don't know about this guy, Gene Silva. Then I come to find out Gene Silva is a freak. And then he shows me even more by coming in another card later. So he goes from UFC 303, jumps right to this fight night card with Rose Namajunas. Starting to fumble all over my words because I'm so hyped talking about this guy. And then he takes, that short notice fight up a weight class, taking on the guy that's tied with Dustin Poirier for the knockout record at lightweight. And he absolutely smokes him. Honestly, the doctor saved Drew, I feel like, and his Giga Chad chin saved him from some fucking hellish combos. Elbows, spinning elbows, clean counter hooks and straight hands. Just everything you could think of. A flying knee at one point, a scissor knee. Drew Dober was eating everything, but he got a nasty cut over his eye, and Gene Silva improves to 3-0 in the UFC. He's really a featherweight, but this guy can fight at lightweight and probably honestly make it all the way up to like the top 7, I feel like. I genuinely think this guy can do that. He's one of the best prospects I've seen in a long time, and it's not often that you see a guy going out here like really trying to put on shows, put on wars. Like, he is not caring if he gets knocked the fuck out. It's almost like he's inviting it. To me, he needs to be the team captain of the MMA nerds right now. He's the one that even made me realize with the nerd glass thing. Like, I kind of saw it with Caio, and I know I've heard him talk about them once or twice before, but I didn't really, I saw it with Mauricio Ruffy. Then I was like, okay, something's going on here. Gene Silva, he's the one that's made it clear. We are the fucking fighting nerds. We're here to stay. I respect it. I bet this guy will fight at least 2 more times this year. I wouldn't be surprised. And we only have 5 more months, but I really do think that he'll probably take on another solid matchup at featherweight just outside the rankings, and then they'll give him a top 15 guy. If not, already give him one, because let's be real, he belongs. Now, let's move on to the third fighter we're going to be talking about from this gym. He has the worst record of all of them, but he is by no means the worst, honestly, I don't think. And on top of that, he's the one that's like been the most exciting to me up until yesterday. Like, I have a little bit of recency bias for Gene Silva right now, but Carlos Prates has now won me like 3 different bets with specific props, which is awesome. I love fighters that pull those out for me. He's 30 years old. What win streak he's riding? He's riding a 9-fight win streak. And so let's look at what he's done in the UFC so far. He comes in, takes on Mitch Ramirez in the Contender Series. Mitch isn't, a bad fighter. He's undefeated, but he's definitely a lot more green. And he puts him out clean. Now he moves up, fights Trevin Giles for his UFC debut. Has a bit of a rough fight in the first round. It's definitely the hardest fight he's had to that point, I feel like, besides his losses. And then he comes out in the second round, towards the last minute of the second round, starches Trevin Giles with a clean straight left hand down the pipe. Then they give him Charles Radke, which was just back at I don't even remember what fight night it was. One of those fight nights in June. And oh my God, he knees Charles Radke to the body, one of the hardest knees I've ever seen landed to the body from standing. Not clinching, not holding somebody up against the cage, just rips a knee and blasts Charles Radke, gets him out of there in the first round. So this guy's already won me 3 knockout props, and one of them's a first round prop, which is awesome, under a round and a half prop. I love winning those props. It's one of my favorite things to win in betting for combat sports. This guy looks like an absolute assassin. I've said it every time I've made a channel pick on him. Every time I've told somebody bet this or add him to your parlay, it's because he's an assassin. The dude is built so fucking freakish for welterweight. I don't know how he makes that weight class. If he can continue to make that weight class and it's not going to drain his cardio or weigh on his chin too much, this guy is going all the way up to the top 5 at welterweight. He literally just needs to be dedicated. That's all I need to see. He has the frame, he has the athletics, he seems to have the heart, he has the finishing potential, he has all of that. He does have some things that we need to see, when he's dragged into deep waters or constantly being taken down or people are forcing grappling. How does he do then? I need to see that. But if he can handle that shit with flying colors, the sky is the limit for this kid. And it's crazy how many times I'm finding myself saying that for these guys at this gym. They are just a solid bunch of fighters. That's what makes me want to even do a deep dive into the rest of their team, because there has to be some hidden gems on that team. But the last one we're going to talk about, honestly, the sleeper of the group. This guy, I bet, for some of you hardcores out there, he's probably your favorite prospect of the year. This guy is Brazilian Conor McGregor. I'm talking about Mauricio Ruffy on a 5-fight win streak, 10-1 record overall. He got a Contender Series fight against a solid fighter in Raymond Magomedliev. Sorry if I butchered that. Gets a 3rd-round win in a fight that, honestly, he was probably going to lose. And then he comes in, debuts in the UFC, takes on Jamie Malarkey, and ends up winning via flying knee and punches in the first round. Was just smoking Malarkey, hits a scissor sweep. He honestly just reminded me straight up of Conor McGregor, the way Conor McGregor comes out of the gates in like his first 6 fights, and how he's just immediately looking for that like counter left hand, looking to like swing backwards, land counter strikes, goes for crazy head kicks, spin kicks. He just looks like he has the most confidence out of all of these guys at that gym, and that says something, because all of these guys have A tier, S tier confidence. Like, that is probably their leading strength. They also all have amazing finishing potential, and they all go for knockouts, dude. They have ground games as well. Bro, I feel like I'm glazing right now because all I have is positives to say about these guys. I've never been, I guess, so enamored by an MMA gym. Like, even some of the ones that were coming up back in the day, City Kickboxing when it came up, I thought they were pretty cool. I really liked that group of fighters. I never had this much hype. Who else is it? Fucking Team Alpha Male. I love Team Alpha Male. They're from right around where I live. But even they never hyped me up like this, even back in their heyday when they had champions and whatnot. These guys just seem like they're the top of the breed. I think Mauricio Ruffy, out of all of them, has the best chance to become a champion. This guy seems different. I'm definitely going to be keeping up with all of their careers heavily this year. If any of them lose a fight this year, I'll probably make a video about it. Like, I'll be stunned. But yeah, all of them are on the up and up. Let me know down below who you guys think is the best out of this bunch. Or if you know somebody else from that group that I should check out, let me know. Put me on, because I want to figure out who these just sleeper superstars are, because that's what pretty much all 4 of these guys are that I'm talking about today. They're potential superstars in the sport. They might already be. But yeah, that's going to be all for me today, guys. I will catch y'all.